Hello there guys, I'm the CHALL and welcome back to another video. Now today, we're going to be chatting about Bolton Wanderers and the fact that Keith Hill and his assistant David Flitcroft is set to leave the club at the end of June, which is the expiry date of their contracts. Now we're going to be talking all about Bolton Wanderers, about what kind of replacement they could look for. But before we get started in that, I want you to please first like, comment, subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a YouTube video. And secondly, however, we do have some 50-50 confirmed and unconfirmed news about the channel, and that is to do with the topic of this video, Bolton Wanderers. Hopefully next week, and then hopefully uploaded by the end of that week or the week after, we're going to be hopefully set to do an interview with a Bolton fan. Now, you may know him as Thogden's father, who's got his own channel now as well. It is Thogdad, so, you know, he's a dedicated Bolton fan along with Thogden. You know, both dedicated Bolton fans, and I cannot wait to speak to Thogdad, especially with the news that came out last night about Keith Hill's expiry and the fact that they're not going to renew the contract of him or David Flitcroft. So it'd be very nice to speak to Thogdad about his thoughts on Keith Hill's removal from the job and his decision to leave the job, and also talk to him, see what he thinks about who the next Bolton manager could be. So I can't wait for that interview. Hopefully that will get signed, sealed and delivered next week. So hopefully you guys stay tuned for that interview. But for now guys, let's get into this video and let's see the BBC Sport article about Keith Hill leaving Bolton. So BBC Sport officially reports that manager Keith Hill will leave his Bolton Wanderers when the contract expires at the end of June, following the club's relegation from League One into League Two. The 51-year-old former Rochdale boss was appointed last August, 3 days after Football Ventures Limited had completed the takeover. Wanderers, who started the season with a 12-point deduction for entering administration, finished bottom. Hill's assistant David Flitcroft will also leave at the end of the month. The pair, who had also worked together at both Rochdale and Barnsley, guided Bolton to 6 wins in 35 matches. Chairman Sharon Britton said the club believed to be in the best interest, and we have a fresh approach to our management and coaching structures for next season and beyond. Bolton, relegated from the Championship only 12 months ago, enjoyed a tumultuous build-up to the 2019-20 season, having been threatened with expulsion from the English Football League before Football Ventures' protracted takeover eventually went through. With the majority of the club's senior players having left, they are fielding sides made up of almost entirely of youth team players at the start of the campaign, including their youngest ever side against Coventry City on the 10th of August. They had to wait until the 22nd of October for their first win, a 2-0 success at Bristol Rovers, and they had gone 8 games without a victory prior to the season being suspended on the 13th of March because of COVID-19. They will join fellow relegated teams Tranmere Rovers and Southend United in the 4th tier next season. So that, my friends, is the BBC Sport article on Keith Hill and David Flitcroft, the assistant, leaving Bolton Wanderers. Now, like I said, I'm going to speak with Thogdad hopefully next week in the interview about you know, Keith Hill leaving and also David Flitcroft and what he thinks is going to be the next Bolton manager. But I wanted to share my thoughts in this video personally, because I'm not going to speak about bookmakers, not going to speak about who I think the next candidate specifically will be, because there's a whole, you know, host of Football League managers that will want to take up this opportunity, especially with the Football Ventures takeover that processed over the last summer, you know, this time last year pretty much. But what I will say is, using that statement from the chairman, Sharon Britton, and using that statement about how, you know, Bolton, they're looking for a manager to hopefully take them to the next steps and beyond. So, you know, that pretty much narrows down the options, because if I was Bolton Wanderers, I'd be looking for a manager that would take them up from League Two beyond. So, let's use Bournemouth as an example. They were in the lower leagues, they were fighting administration. You know, the club got taken over and things like that, and they got some money pumped back into it, and they brought in obviously the former player Eddie Howe, and you look at what he did with Bournemouth, taking them to the Premier League. Obviously they're in the relegation battle in the Premier League at the minute, so when the Premier League restarts, hopefully Bournemouth will survive, and I personally think they will, and I'll do a prediction video sometime in the future, near future, before the Premier League restarts next week, predicting who's going to finish where. But what I will say that compares Bournemouth to what I think could be the potential of Bolton is the fact that Bolton could bring in a manager that has future aspirations. So it could be a former player, it could be It could be a fan of the club. It could be a fan of the club that's got experience in the Football League and experience beyond the Football League. Maybe some worldwide experience in Europe or somewhere like that. If a manager... I mean, you look at Wolves in the Championship. You know, you look at Wolverhampton Wanderers. You look at what they did previously. And you look at what Wolverhampton Wanderers did with... You know, they were relegated to League One for a season. And, you know, they had to fight their way back up again. And of course they brought in Nuno Espirito Santo, and they brought in these Portuguese players, and Wolves just rose up to the Premier League, and they're now, you know, in a year-to-year, you know, Europa League battle. So I think if you bring in someone with European experience, like Nuno has with, I think he was a former Porto manager, so I think that having someone with European experience, doesn't matter if it's a club as big as Porto, it could be a smaller club than that, but someone with European experience that could bring in that European flair to Bolton and develop the youth academy, bring in some more youth academy players through, whether it's European, American, Asian, worldwide, or English or United Kingdom, so from Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, different academy stars as well as the European stars. You know, that could attract some attention to Bolton, and I think they could keep rising up the leagues. Or you go with someone else that could rise them up the leagues who maybe doesn't have European experience, but maybe has just usual Football League experience and knows the right tactics and the right mindset to get them out of the lower leagues and get them in the higher EFL leagues. So I think that Bolton are on a massive recruiting job in the summer. I think obviously they're going to have to bring in a new assistant manager as well, so it's going to be a completely new coaching system for Bolton next season. And it's got to be someone that, and from the statement it seems like they're going to look for someone who isn't just good for League 2 and League 1. They're going to look for someone who has potential to storm the Championship and bring in a brand new Bolton squad that's going to storm the Championship and hopefully, for Bolton fans, climb them to the top of the Premier League, to climb them into the Premier League, the top division. So I think hopefully Bolton have that manager in place. Obviously, you know, we as Doncaster Rovers couldn't face Bolton, you know, because of the fact that like they cancelled the fixture and stuff like that, and there was this whole battle going on about, you know, awarding, you know, automatic points and, you know, rescheduling the fixture and forcing fines and all this nonsense. I'm not going to go into that, but you know, I do hope for Bolton's sake they do have a manager that's going to lift them up from League 2 straight into the top division again, because I miss Bolton in the top division. I miss seeing Bolton in the Premier League. I was a young kid when I saw Bolton in the Premier League. I remember watching the Tottenham-Bolton game at White Hart Lane where Fabrice Muamba collapsed. I remember watching that as a kid. I had no idea what was going on because I was a kid at the time. So, you know, I had an inkling it was a sad scene, but I had no idea what was happening. So, but I've got distinct memories of sitting in front of my telly watching Fabrice Muamba and watching him come back as well. We watched him come back onto the pitch months later to wave away the fans. So, you know, I remember so many memories of watching Bolton as a Premier League fan, as a football fan, as a neutral, that maybe doesn't support Bolton, but I remember watching football as a kid, and I remember watching Fabrice Muamba come back on that pitch months later to be congratulated by the Bolton fans. I remember watching that, you know, and it's watching those memories of Bolton, remembering what they did in Europe, the day they got relegated to the Championship, around 2011-2012 season. You know, I remember those times. You know, I've got so many memories of watching Bolton as a neutral. So I'd love to see Bolton in the Premier League again. So it's very, very important they get a good future, a long-term future manager. Someone who's going to storm the league, storm the Championship, and get them back into the Premier League. So hopefully that's the direction they go down. Obviously, in terms of transfers, it's going to be very difficult with the money and financially because of the fact of COVID and other things affecting as well. But hopefully the Football Ventures takeover will allow Bolton to make those transfers, maybe not expensive transfers and free transfers instead, or loans, but just the right transfers to get out of League 2, then the right transfers to get out of League 1, and so forth. So thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. I'll leave a link to Thogdad and Thogden in the description down below. I can't wait to interview Thogdad. Cannot wait. And for now, guys, thank you very, very much. My name is the CHALL. Please like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye.
champions!